Welcome to Brownfield's Trade Talk Showcase. I'm anchor reporter Megan Grebner. With us is Ethan Lane with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Hello.
Hey, Megan.
Good to see you, although not in person this year.
Good to see you as well. I wish I was in Kansas City, but this will have to do.
So really a kind of exciting time, as you look at what's been going on in the last couple of weeks, U.S. Election results that have come in. And we're going to focus primarily today on looking ahead to 2021 and legislative priorities. But let's start first and talk about coming in with a new administration and what NCBA is going to be doing to make sure the voices of cattlemen are heard.
Well, we're going to be doing first and foremost what we always do in a new administration, whether it is a Republican administration or a Democratic administration. We're going to educate. There's a lot of new people coming through the door. I like to remind people that in a new administration, that transition team has to make 4,000 political appointments. 1,200 of those have to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Those are a lot of new faces coming through the door that need to get the full understanding of what we do as an industry, the benefits that we provide, the methods we use to produce the highest quality beef in the world with the lowest environmental footprint. That's a conversation we've been having. It's one we're excited to have with new folks coming to Washington, whether they're in the administration or on Capitol Hill. And it'll lay the foundation for how we move through the next couple of years.
I want to get right into some of probably the bigger issues. There was a big win under the Trump administration with WOTUS, and there's speculation or probably a very good probability that will be reexamined under the new administration. As we look ahead to presidential appointments, to cabinet appointments as well, what are some things that you're keeping an eye on and watching for to make sure that U.S. cattlemen and cattle producers here in the U.S. priorities are heard as well?
Well, obviously, we're going to see a lot of focus on the work of the last 4 years, and there's going to be a lot of media speculation on what a Biden administration may do as far as undoing some of the Trump administration's priorities. Navigable Waters Protection Rule, the replacement for WOTUS, is obviously going to be one of those rules that they're going to be receiving a lot of pressure from the environmental community and others to take action on. Obviously, that's still working its way through the court system now, as is the critical rewrite to the Endangered Species Act that we've participated in over the last few years, as is the rewrite to the National Environmental Policy Act. We can add to that list probably the delisting of the gray wolf in the lower 48 states a few weeks back by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And the list goes on and on. You know, we're going to see a lot of focus on those. Just like at the beginning of the Trump administration, dealing with 8 years of Obama-era regulatory action, those are not things that are overturned in a day. You have court action that's going on. You have ongoing challenges. The administration coming in is going to have to decide whether they're going to continue to defend those rules or if they're going to drop those defenses and try to promulgate some new rulemaking. Those things take a long time to work their way through the system. So this process will just begin on January 20th, and then we'll kind of go from there. But we do fully expect some of those issues to be revisited that have been such a priority for us over the last 4 years.
There's been a lot of talk about cabinet appointments. As you're looking at those specifically, what are some things that you're hoping to see maybe as it relates to a Secretary of Agriculture, as well as I would assume all eyes are going to be watching the appointment to the EPA administrator?
Well, we like to remind people, we work with almost every agency here in Washington on one issue or another, whether it's international trade, whether it's, issues at the border, whether it's the Department of Interior with species and conservation issues, whether it's USDA, EPA, Department of Transportation on hours of service issues. So we're watching all of them, quite frankly, at this point, just to see what kind of team takes shape. Obviously, with the election results being what they were, Vice President Biden, incoming President-elect Biden, has a real challenge on his hands to balance the message that was sent. And that message clearly sent a lot of new Republican members to Congress. It speaks to the fact that the American people weren't necessarily dissatisfied with a lot of the actions that we saw over the last 4 years. They may have been less than satisfied, some of them with the person delivering those actions. And we did see that split in voters. We think that the vice president's incoming cabinet will reflect that. We think we'll see some folks that are pretty moderate and agriculturally minded. We've heard names like Heidi Heitkamp for USDA. She'd be a great pick. We had a great relationship with her when she was in the U.S. Senate. She understands cattle production. She understands those services at USDA. I've also heard Martha Fudge from Ohio. We've had similarly a great relationship with her. She's been a strong supporter of ag in the state of Ohio during her time on the ag committee. We're not hearing a lot of scary names, as far as our industry is concerned at USDA. There is a lot of opportunity there. They're going to take a different view of some of these issues, but we're still in that speculative phase where people are floating all kinds of trial balloons. We'll start to see that materialize over the next few weeks. I think as we see leadership elections in the House of Representatives play out over the next 2 days, that's going to give us some clarity as folks find new jobs inside the Democratic caucus on Capitol Hill. That'll give us an idea of sort of who's left that may be eyeing some administration appointments as well.
Ethan, really great perspective and insight today as we look ahead to 2021. Before we wrap things up, I do want to talk a little bit about legislative priorities. What are some things that you're working and looking ahead to in 2021?
Well, obviously, not much is going to change on Capitol Hill other than a more narrow majority for the Democrats in the House and a similar set of circumstances, assuming the two Georgia runoffs maintain those incumbents with Mitch McConnell's caucus in the U.S. Senate. So a lot of those dynamics are going to remain sort of the same as they have been. Where the difference is going to lie is in direction coming from the White House. We've already seen quite a bit of conversation about climate. A real focus from this administration on that set of issues. We're gonna see probably a President-elect Biden take some different positions on some of those trade relationships. He's already calling world leaders and having some of those conversations. So we're going to be paying a lot of attention to how that rolls out. Expanding that access for beef is critically important to making sure our producers continue to gain market share. So we're going to be looking at how they attack some of those issues, how they pick up ongoing negotiations with countries like the United Kingdom on a trade agreement following their Brexit. There are some things that are really at the top of the list there that they're going to need to engage on very quickly in the process, and those will be kind of the tip of the spear, so to speak, where we're going to be putting our efforts early in this administration as far as our policy priorities. But obviously, those things that have been hampering cattle producers over the past few years aren't going anywhere. Hours of service regulations that are restricting the length of a haul are continuing to be an issue for us. It's something we've received some relief from during COVID, but that won't last forever. We need a permanent fix for that. We're continuing to see the progress on the fake meat side, as far as making sure that those products are labeled properly and not misrepresenting themselves or leveraging our brand as beef to sell their products. We're going to continue to see a lot of discussion of regulatory issues moving forward. Obviously, we will have a lot to talk about, as I said earlier, with those regulations that we've seen promulgated over the last 4 years, and kind of how we take those from there moving forward. And, we'll see new issues come to light. New administration means new priorities. There are things we're probably not even talking about today that are going to become issues tomorrow. And this team here in DC will be ready to take those on as they materialize and educate and try to find the best path forward for cattle producers.
Ethan, thank you for your time today. Always good to see you, and hopefully we see you in person at NCBA's meeting in August.
Looking forward to it, Megan. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ethan. I'm Megan Grevner for Brownfield.